Hello, good morning. Okay, so part 2. Now we left off in part 1 where I was talking about MMOs and I had mentioned the word raiding, and there's parts that I'm just trying to, make it a little more understandable for people who are not into that sort of, world and might not know what I mean by the certain terminology. So I was kind of trying to give a little bit of a background as to what I mean. So anyway, so my friend, her boyfriend, is very much into an MMO game, and he raids. Now, what that, to me, tells me that he's got his character. Now, in an MMO type of game, you usually have a max level with your character, and I don't like how this one rolled. It's got this lip here that I'm going to see if I could unroll it some and straighten it out. Anyway, so you have a character, and you can get them to, I don't even know the max level for EQ anymore. EQ stands for EverQuest. EverQuest was my first MMO game way back in 1999. I actually did not realize that game was still going strong, that they still have dedicated raiders today. So anyway, so he has his character to max level. I have no idea what max level is for EQ nowadays. As an example, for WoW, the max level is 110. So we'll just use WoW as the example and just kind of put it on the EQ part, and let's just assume that you can be 110 and whatever the current version of EverQuest is. I have no idea, and don't get all up in arms at me about it, because like I said, I already said I have no idea the current, what level it is, but I do play WoW, so I'll just use WoW as my example. But because they pretty much, the how you raid in that game versus how you raid in WoW are pretty similar. They're not exact, but they're pretty damn similar. You get a bunch of your people, your friends online, usually in a guild, or usually in a guild or an alliance or whatever you want to refer to. And you all team up, and you have certain people who play certain parts. So you have a person who is the person who says, "Hey, I shot your mom last night," or, the taunting type person, the tank, the person that's, gets the mob's attention, gets them mad at them, so that way all the other people can damage do the actual damage to the boss. So anyway, I am going way too in-depth with this whole rating thing. I have just realized I have spent at least 5 minutes, if not more, just talking about crap that you people that come to my channel probably don't give a shit about, and I am very sorry about that. I am trying to rein in my thoughts a little bit better. So anyway, she has a boyfriend that raids. So basically, he's got, and those usually last about 4 hours. 4 hour, yeah, I'd say 4 hours is pretty average for a raid night. So you would go from like, an average raid time is usually like 7 p.m. till 10 or 11, or 8 until 11 at night. Because, people do have work and stuff. So sometimes 10, depending on what your guild is, depending on what guild you joined and what they do for, what their schedule is. You would want to join a guild that raids at times that are compatible with you. So now what it is her boyfriend doesn't really do anything with his kids. He just does his thing. So, and I am actually going somewhere with all this, but it kind of needs a little bit of a backstory to where, but anyway, so, she's got the kids all the time, so it's always her job to make sure those kids are happy and quiet while he raids and does his thing. You know, and it's kind of driving a little bit of a wedge between them because, oh crap, because, you know, she doesn't want to just be around the kids the whole time. So she's trying to find other ways to outlet her frustrations of motherhood. And I've been trying for a very long time now, since we've gotten back into being friends, to be there for her, to be supportive for her. Because for a while there, like last year or sometime last year, she stopped hanging out with me because she was really heavily into doing drugs again, and she thought I would be disappointed in her and probably chew her out and all that stuff. And I told her, I said, you know, I wasn't going to do that. You know, it's tough enough for somebody who keeps falling off the wagon and is actually trying but has no real support. I know how that is, but, you know, I'm trying to be there for her nowadays, trying to, you know, be the person that she can call when she needs to, or the person that, you know, she can, you know, I wish I could be the person that she could, you know, come on over and hang out with, but her kids are a bit annoying to me because they don't listen and they're rambunctious, and yeah, I've had a talk about that already before, conversation in a video where I talk about how apparently she doesn't want to hang out with me because I don't like her kids because of how wild they're. And yeah, I don't. I like kids that are well behaved. I like kids that if you tell them to do something, they listen. That's just how I am. That has nothing to do with her parenting. That doesn't mean that I don't care, you know, about her situation. That just means I prefer not to hang out with her kids. You know, no. Her kids don't know boundaries either. Like, her little girl keeps wanting to hold my hand, and now that's another thing. I didn't get into the topic when I talked about earlier with my concert in my video previously, where I talked about my my Tom Petty concert experience. Now, when that guy accused me of stealing his wallet, first of all, I don't like touching people. I don't like it when people I don't know touch me. It's one of those things, like when I used to go to the bar, I would avoid the bars that are, you know, really superly packed, where you have to squeeze by people just to walk places, or, you know, if you're sitting at a table, somebody is really literally standing right behind you talking to their friends, you know, or, you know, I avoid places like that where it's that cramped, that crowded, because I do not like sitting next to someone or being near people where they're touching me. It's just my thing. So anyway, I don't even know how I got onto that. But yeah, I forgot to mention that in my video earlier. So, but yeah, her oldest, doesn't understand boundaries. Like when we went for that hike on Friday, she kept wanting to hold my hand. She was being innocent about it, but it's one of those things, if it were my kid and wanting to hold my hand, I would hold my kid's hand. But, you know, my kids don't really hold my hands anymore because, you know, it's not cool for a teenager to hold their parent's hand. And, yeah, so her kids just don't recognize boundaries. And to me, that's not cool. Oh, and her kid, I don't know if it's just because she doesn't understand cemetery etiquette, but her kid was, we were at this place and they had this cemetery that they redid the headstones on because it was, you know, for a hospital that in our city from way back in the 1800s to early 1900s, this hospital was active, and the cemetery was for the patients of that hospital who died there due to illness, you know, immigrants and, you know, some of the headstones I was reading were actually, the person was only 20 years old. And, you know, and a lot of them were from like 1920 is pretty average for some of the deaths on there. So I was thinking, well, geez, some of those may have been cholera or typhoid fever, you know, things that we don't have to worry about today. But anyway, so we're walking through the cemetery, and this girl, you know, the daughter, the 6-year-old, is just standing on the headstones. So I tell the mom, you know, she really shouldn't be walking on those headstones like that. That's really disrespectful, because they're the flat kind, because they're you know, they're the flat kind that, you know, are level with the ground, but they're really nice looking headstones. I mean, you know, but she kept walking on them, and then her mother would tell her to stop walking on them, and she would continue to step on them. And I'm like, if that were me, I would have spanked my child for being like that, because that's somebody's relative, you know, that's somebody's relative that, you know, obviously died painfully in a hospital, hopefully not alone, you know, and here she is stepping on their headstones. You know, granted, yes, they are no longer in the living, but still, you should be respectful of your, you know, of the dead. You know, and I consider myself a not very religious person, but, you know, there are things in my life that, you know, I was just raised to be respectful of things like that. Like, if people are praying near me, and just because I don't pray doesn't mean I'm not going to bow my head and be respectful and quiet, because I don't, you know, that's just how, you know, that's just how I personally want to, you know, be viewed as. But okay, so I'm getting a little long again, so I'm going to probably make a part 3. So this will be end of part 2. So when we get back together, we'll still continue on with where I'm actually supposed to be going with this whole morning conversation. It's good. It needed a little bit of a backstory. So we talked about this girl has, anyway, well, you know, actually, I'll do a recap of everything in the beginning of part 3. Okay, so all right, bye.